This is the Griffin Realty Group Ask-A-Griffin podcast, episode number 64. We continue in our agent plan, and the question on the table is, are you segmenting your database into relationship building modules? Are you a home seller or a home buyer who has questions about selling or buying residential property? Or maybe you're an agent who needs direction, but you can't find an easy way to get your answers? Well, then, hey, you are all definitely in the right place. I'm Danny Griffin, the founder of the Griffin Realty Group and the host of the Ask-A-Griffin podcast. Now, to help you take immediate action to get started in the right direction, if you need to sell or buy property right now or in the very near future, or you want to become a real estate agent and you can take advantage, all of you, of our free step-by-step guides. They're waiting for you at griffincourses.com. That's GRIFFIN courses.com. All right, let's continue here in our agent plan. Are you segmenting your database into relationship building modules? I know it sounds so business-like, but that's the point. We're in the business, and we're in the business of relationship building. We talked about it in the last podcast episode in the agent series, where you have to set your database up like an assembly line because you are manufacturing. You're manufacturing relationships with people who want to sell or buy property, and most of them you don't know to begin with. Now, I know a lot of you might say, oh, well, mine's all by referral only and all these great things. Yeah, we all have referred business, and that's good stuff. But when you set up an assembly line, you have to always be bringing in new raw material. In our business, we call them contacts. So I think one of the challenges with CRM and all its terminology is that we sit there and we think to ourselves, contact manager. Like a database is a contact manager, okay? So that may or may not be something that's a good thing. Because here's the first point. Contacts must be segmented by the depth of the relationship. So if you just see contact manager, well, how is the database strategy even set up to begin with? What are you doing? Are you just digitizing the list? You could do that on a Google Sheet. You just throw them all onto a Google Sheet or an Excel spreadsheet, and there they all are, right? Now, all of a sudden, you have all of these contacts that are on a list, and they're digitized. Well, that's better than written on the back of a napkin, I suppose, but they're not segmented. There's no strategy. You can't tell the difference in where you're at with these relationships. See, this is why so many agents sell so few properties in a year, because they take one person and they go through the process. They add another one during that process and maybe two, and they get all discombobulated. Because what they're simply trying to do is segment those people on muscle. Well, if you use a contact manager or a database manager to set these up, you can do business with a lot more people because it doesn't take this consumption of time. The erroneous, inaccurate thinking or the cognitive business distortion that people have is, well, I just don't have any time. I mean, I'm already working. That's a distortion. You don't know what you don't know. If you would simply organize your contacts, I'm going to get into how to do that. If you would simply organize them by the depth of the relationship, you could segment so that part of your day would be dealt with one part to the next. And those three are leads, prospects, and clients. So let's talk about each. The first is leads. Let's imagine that we have this strategic setup. We see it as the concept of client or contact relationship management. Okay? Contact relationship management, CRM, contact, relationship management. One more time, contact, relationship management. So everything's a contact. If you imagine it flowing along the assembly line, it's always a contact, a fully formed contact. We have full name, we have telephone number, we have email address, right? And mailing address. That's a fully formed contact that comes in as the raw material into your database. But you have to attach a tag or a disposition to that contact when it comes in. So call that a lead. That's a lead. Now, again, nobody ever taught me how to apply these labels per se. So I just made assumptions until all of a sudden I said, wait a minute, this needs to make more sense than this. What is a lead? So let me define it this way. A lead for me means you don't know why they're buying or selling or how motivated they are. You don't know. Because all you have is the contact information. That applies to any type of lead. And that can include a referral. A lot of you that get just so high on referrals and you act as if it's the easiest business in the world, when somebody refers you, yes, that's a nice way to start. The acquisition and some of the conversion has been done for you. But you don't know yet why like those people are doing it. And you don't know how motivated they really are. It could be your buddy who loves you, that you sold a house for, and they think you're the greatest. Hey, you should talk to Sally. Sally's thinking about buying, but you don't really know why Sally wants to sell or how motivated she is. So she's nothing more than a lead. Here's Sally's phone number. I told you you'd be calling, so I have Sally's name and a phone number. I don't even have a fully formed contact yet. Maybe I can ask the referral source, hey, do you know her address? Do you know some other things? But maybe best if I just figure out this lead myself so that I take care of cleaning the raw material. Now, this could be leads that come from the internet. And this is one of my pet peeves about buyer leads. I just can't fathom how many agents and agencies still just buy these whimsical internet inquiries on the buy side especially and pass them off even as leads. A lot of them are whimsical inquiries that never even do anything. And I'm starting to question the validity of some of these names and numbers at all. I'm not condemning any particular lead generation company, but I just don't get it. The math doesn't work. There are far too many leads, contact information that just seem to go absolutely nowhere. So are we just pulling them off a list and selling them to agents? I don't know. It's a good question you should ask yourself if this is the game you play. But in any case, whether they're expired leads, probate leads, and again, remember, these are contact names. These are contact emails, maybe telephone numbers, whatever. It's just contact information. And our disposition we put on top of it is lead because we don't know why they're doing this or how motivated. The next piece is the key to this industry. And you might hear the term prospecting on a regular basis. This is where your database can help you organize. See, what I did back about 10 years ago, I said, this is digital stuff is chaos. And it's taking my business down the sewer. I mean, we're making offer for distress sales that, what do I even want to be in that business for? I ask myself. And what's that have to do with me getting and acquiring listings at or above the median price? Nothing. So I shrunk the number of leads I was willing to acquire. And I started to think about it strategically. So less and higher quality and seller leads became much more important to me. Now, I'm not going to get into what I do to convert them because this is about setting up the database. But the point being is that those leads are there to be prospected, meaning the disposition needs to change from a lead to a prospect. How do you do that? And what is the definition of a prospect? I said to myself, well, I figured if I don't know why they're doing it, how motivated, and I can find that out, then I've probably begun to create a prospect, a couple little other details. But so a prospect for me was a label that said, you know why they're thinking about moving and they're open to your help. That's a key point there. I mean, you can get on the phone with somebody, you can have a conversation, email, text, whatever, and you can figure out why somebody's moving and you can determine that sounds like a pretty real reason. But then that motivating piece that clarifies it, well, gee, that's a pretty big reason to move. On a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you to move in the next 6 months, the next 12 months? And after that, it really almost becomes whimsical again because you're setting up this database for success. So you cheat towards sooner inside 6 months, longer inside 12 months. Yes, I have the capacity to follow up forever, but do I really want to do that until I'm really good at these other pieces? So I even cleaned it up from trying to say, I can follow up forever. Well, that's a lot of bravado that doesn't really get me a good prospecting bunch that I can focus on and serve better. So a prospect segment tells me we know why they're moving. We actually know their motivation on a scale of 1 to 10 to do so inside of 12 months. And they're open to our help, meaning they've accepted a package of information that we direct mail out to all sellers and buyers so they can see our plan. They know where we're coming from. We're beginning to give them property information that matters to them and our insights. We're earning the next level, which is the final label for the conversion module, and that's client. So inside this assembly line, aka database, aka contact relationship manager, I take this concept of a conversion module and I say to myself, in there are 3 dispositions: lead, prospect, or lastly, client. And anybody who doesn't make the leap to the next one might go shooting out the end as waste product, like an assembly line, meaning we couldn't come to a relationship that advanced. So we got to get them out of there. You wouldn't leave all the scrap metal that you create when you create an automobile, right? You get it out of there. Why would you do it with your, why do you have such a bloated database? Can't even walk around in your database or segment things because you left all the junk there that's no good. And I don't mean to refer to a contact or a human as junk. Some of it really is. Your leads are disgustingly junk. I'll guarantee you that, most of you. Okay? So, want to prove that to yourself? Just take a list of everybody you paid for to get and you've never had any contact with them. They've never come in again. Junk. You get some junk, folks. But a client, let's get to the definition. The seller or buyer, client, is actively working with you in the context of your tactical plan, right? They've changed the status. They've signed the listing agreement. Now, the buy side's a little bit controversial with some of you that are adamant about having them sign a buy-side contract or not. But the truth is there's real relationship, and it's in the client phase, meaning they're committed to you and you're committed to them, and you're getting very tactical. So think about this. The things that you're doing for leads, meaning organizing them, getting the information they ask for, fulfillment. By the way, you better be fulfilling. You make a lead a promise and you don't fulfill, shame on you. And if you've abdicated that responsibility to a third party and they bait and switch and they don't fulfill the expectations, shame on them. So we have some real issues here with raw materials acquisition and whether it's above board or not. But let's presume it is. Now, your act of prospecting is everything. Your act of getting some information to them, talking to them, emailing them, texting them, whatever it takes. I prefer talking. I prefer mailing, right, as we get into that relationship, so I can turn a real prospect who says, wow, this person, this business appreciates what's important to me. They gave me their plan, and they gave me some information, and they're giving me their insights for free. That's building that prospect relationship, and I can see them segmented. And I can also see them segmented vertically, meaning by timing. So we have these simple segmentations because we know prospects are there. So in other words, not every prospect's timing. Their why might be there inside of 12 months, but I might need to talk to them weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, bi-monthly, maybe quarterly at the longest. But you see what I'm saying? I have a list of prospects and the frequency with which I should be touching base. Not rocket science, folks, but highly effective. All right, let me go back and summarize this because it's pretty simple and I don't want to complicate it. The question on the table in the Ask-A-Griffin podcast is, are you segmenting your database into relationship building modules? Segmenting. And so to help you out, I'll call that the conversion module inside my database because there are other things we do past that. For example, closing module. But in the conversion module, the contacts one must be segmented by depth of relationship. So as they move left to right over these three labels, I'm going deeper in the relationship, right? That's what's happening as you're manufacturing, getting closer to a happy past client. So the first one is leads. And what's the definition of a lead label you put on a contact? You don't know why they're moving or how motivated they are. Two would be prospects. You know why they're thinking about moving and how motivated they are. And lastly, they're open to your help. So they're accepting it. That prospect relationship is two-way. It's not one way. You're not talking to a ghost. They've been prospected correctly, meaning they see your value and they're open to your continued help. And lastly, clients. The seller or buyer that's actively working with you in the context of you executing your tactical plan. So you're not just following up anymore with your insight and information, you're actually executing on your plan. So if you can't see them clearly, you have a problem. By the way, just a little pro tip here. You build an assembly line in your database left to right, meaning we move the contact from lead to prospect to client, and we build action campaigns for each. But you work it right to left in the conversion module, meaning when you come to work and you have something to do for a client, you do that first. You have something to do for a hot prospect and the cooler ones, you do that next. Then you hit your leads. That's if you're working alone. Of course, if you're not, I'm not. I have people at each stage specializing in helping me do that follow-up. All right, let me describe it this way. The best description of CRM is contact. I keep screwing it up myself. Is contact relationship manager. Contact relationship manager. I say contact because that's the consistent name that flows all the way through. Because what that allows you to see a contact as just information that needs to be segmented on regarding the relationship, based on the relationship that you do or do not have with them. Meaning Leads, you don't have a relationship with them. Prospect, it's beginning. Client, it's deep. So all must be treated differently in order to prioritize and manage your assembly line so that your business never starts and stops. That's what happens when it's not segmented. All right, let me say this also. You can take immediate action to get started in the right direction if you need to sell or buy property right now, if you're a seller or buyer that's listening to this. Or, of course, if you want to be an agent now who's doing a better job or a brand new one, you can get free step-by-step guides that chunk this up for you. These podcasts are more individualistic about the subject, but you can get the whole guide sitting, waiting for you. GriffinCourses.com, GRIFFIN courses.com. Also, don't forget, you can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Or you can find us on our social media channels, and you don't miss out on any of the insights each time we upload an episode. I know you're all busy, but I'm just going to keep putting the content out there so that when you find it, you know how to get started with the real plan. We'd also appreciate it, of course. Hey, comment, share the content with anybody thinking about selling or buying, and we can help everybody else be successful as well. But remember this, I sign off all my podcasts the same way. Nobody's coming for you. Nobody. So take some time to get working on your own plan for buying, selling, or becoming a better agent, and we'll see you in the next episode to help you do just that. Thanks again.